we are doing a presentation over the battery electric car industry. So our industry size and structure, in our figure one, we actually start at 20 million, but I have other estimates. They began with a production number of 450,000 electric vehicles in 2015, and that jumped to 2.1 million in 2019. In this figure one, you can actually see in 2020, it actually dropped. Coronavirus does a lot of things. It dropped to 1.7 million. In 2025, it's expected to be at 8.5 million. 2030, 26 million. And by 2040, it's expected to be at 54 million electric vehicles, car sales. In figure two is the electric vehicle share of new car sales. So in 2020, 2.7% of vehicles sold were actually electric cars. 2025 is expected to be 10%, 2030, 28%, and it's expected to be at 58% in 2040. As you can see, this is a growing market, and it's expected a lot of further growth due to increased renewable energy resources and overall emissions. People are looking to have lower carbon footprint, lower emissions, and it should be helping with the greener future. And the structure, what kind of industry it falls underneath, is manufacturing.
And the five major players that we selected was Tesla, Rivian, Nikola, Ford, and Nissan. The reason we chose Ford and Nissan outside of the main three all-electric companies was because Ford is just getting into it, and everybody knows Ford. And then Nissan's been kind of in it for a little longer than any other major company. Tesla first came out with the Model S, which is a sedan, and then more recently, they came out with the Model 3, which is a more affordable model, and it's also a sedan. And they came out with the Model X, which is a small SUV, and then the Model Y, which is a kind of a mix of the S and the 3 model.
You could say it's sexy.
Elon Musk is a pretty funny guy. And then Rivian, they are mainly just truck and SUV right now. They came out with the R1T and the R1S. Nikola is a little different. They're more just semi, and really that's about it, other than they just came out with the concept of a truck. It's called the Badger, and it kind of looks like a Ford Raptor. And you can actually pre-order that now on their website. And then Ford, they only have the Mach-E. I believe that's coming out next year completely in 2021. And then Nissan has had the Nissan Leaf for a couple of years, I think.
Key success factors with the electric car vehicle industry. Renewables, so overall increase in demand for renewables. We're stepping away from fuel and gas, and they're looking more towards electric vehicles. So that's really helping electric vehicles cases with all the renewables people are looking for these days. There are actually tax write-offs that they have, both state and federal tax write-offs. Not all states have them, but there is a federal tax write-off for electric vehicles. So it reduces price in the end on buying an electric vehicle, which helps them a lot. There's overall a lot of improvements they've had that are really helping them grow in these continuing years. They're lowering prices. Tesla's coming out with a $25,000 car soon, so that'll really get them into that kind of
more
affordable, bang for your buck kind of price range. Availability, as you can see, there's a lot of car industries, and there's more that are joining, like Ford, that are increasing the overall availability of electric cars, which only can help them in the long run. Specs, they're getting a lot better. Their batteries are having longer range, faster charging time, faster charging time, and more cycles is a huge thing to be able to run for longer and they actually expect at some point to have batteries that are good enough that they would outlast the car. And then they are cheaper in terms of pricing. If you pay for the electricity versus the gas, you're going to be beating out all the internal combustion engines or ICE vehicles with how much money you'll be saving fuel wise.
Then the target of customers, right now, they're more into the shorter range, and it's basically all just city driving. You wouldn't want to take a long trip to California from here with a Tesla currently, because of the fact that it's probably 300 and some miles for your distance, and then you have to wait roughly an hour to charge instead of just filling up your gas tank in 3 minutes and taking off again for another 400 miles or whatever it is. And for the future, they are trying to work on getting longer range for trips like that, and then for trucking companies and semis and Amazon delivery trucks. Amazon is actually working with Rivian for getting their all-electric delivery trucks. I could see UPS and the Postal Service eventually doing that probably too. Bus systems, I don't really think that's a thing yet, but I think that's going to be eventually, or here soon. I think Rivian's also working with somebody on that, or it might actually be Nikola. I think it's Nikola because they do the buses or the semis and more of the, I don't know, more industrial stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then the attributes is that it's more energy efficient and it reduces emissions, and it's lower maintenance because there's not a full engine, it's just a battery, and you just replace it when it's bad.
Okay, top two companies currently are Tesla and Rivian. So Tesla's market share currently, at least the time we made this, was $416.95. The financial performance, as you can see in the small chart here, they've actually grown quite considerably over the last decade. They started real small, and they are over $24 million in revenue in 2019. I think it's actually just slightly higher in 2020, but again, coronavirus. Intellectual properties, patents, and trademarks, they have 1,229 patents, with 736 in the U.S. Rivian, they have a market share. They currently don't have a market share right now because they're not in the market. Financial performance, their annual revenue per year is around $790 million currently. And then their intellectual property, patents, and trademarks, they have 9 patents currently. And our new product idea, I won't say new to the world, but it's kind of maybe new to industry, is swappable electric vehicle battery, or SEVs. So versus a long charging time, we can just swap out empty batteries with charged ones at stations. So applications for that would be public use and commercial use. Mostly trucking and buses are the main ideas I had for that. Applications with improving chargers and battery technology, the usefulness of this would decrease with time. And personally, I can't prototype this and design this myself, so I couldn't see this as our product design idea. The idea for the public use, I think, would be very difficult to work with due to how it would work. I mean, the idea is park your car, it changes out the battery, and then you can keep driving with a fresh battery. They would charge it at the station, and then they pop it into the next person's. But I don't know, I feel like that'd be very difficult logistically to figure out pricing and all that kind of, all those kind of things for those batteries, and getting a full battery and essentially a different battery, so you don't know about wear and stuff like that. But I could definitely see commercial use, entire companies using this, especially trucking and buses. So trucking, they could have stations located across this country. As the trucks truck from one side of the country to the other, they stop at the station, they swap out a battery, and they're good to go within 5-10 minutes versus an hour plus in charging a big old semi. Buses as well, they need to be running all the time in some larger cities. I don't know about smaller cities, or also cross-country buses. They could as well do the same thing as trucks, or in the city, the buses could just grab a new battery and then keep going on their route. So I think that is an idea, a workable idea for more commercial use with trucking and buses, but not a very good use for public use. And I can't design it, so we're not doing that. And that concludes our presentation.